Parfum, the oldest and most concentrated form of fragrance in existence. Before synthetic molecules arrived in the late 19th century, parfum was the only option, a dense, oil-rich composition applied sparingly to pulse points by European aristocracy. Today it contains between 20 and 40% aromatic compounds suspended in near-pure ethanol. A single 30 milliliter bottle can hold more raw material than an entire flanker line. The scent evolves across 8 to 12 hours, sometimes longer, on fabric. In France, parfum is legally distinct, regulated under IFRA standards, and often produced in limited quantities. Houses like Guerlain and Caron built their reputations entirely on this format before lighter concentrations existed. Eau de Parfum, developed commercially in the 1970s as luxury houses sought a more accessible format without abandoning prestige. Eau de Parfum, or EDP, contains between 15 and 20% aromatic concentrate. Chanel No. 5 EDP, launched in 1986, decades after the original Parfum, and outsold every prior concentration within 2 years. The ethanol base in EDPs is typically 85 to 90% pure, allowing strong top-note projection while still delivering several hours of dry down. EDPs became the industry's commercial backbone throughout the 1990s and 2000s. Today they account for the majority of luxury fragrance launches globally and are considered the default reference point for a house's signature formula. Eau de Toilette, the concentration responsible for most people's first encounter with designer fragrance. EDT contains between 8 and 15% aromatic material, with the remainder being alcohol and trace water. Invented in the 18th century, the term derived from the French word toilette, meaning grooming ritual. It was designed for daily application after bathing. Guerlain's Jicky, launched in 1889, was among the first modern EDTs. The format thrives on top notes, citrus, green, and aldehydic accords that burn bright and fast. Longevity typically ranges from 3 to 5 hours. Designers like Hermes and Dior use EDT as the entry point for their most iconic masculines, where lighter, drier projection is considered appropriate. Eau de Cologne, the original concentration. Eau de Cologne was first produced in Cologne, Germany in the early 1700s by Italian-born perfumer Giovanni Maria Farina. He named it after his adopted city. The formula contained between 2 and 5% aromatic material in a base of grape alcohol and water, often featuring bergamot, neroli, and lavender. Napoleon Bonaparte reportedly used 60 bottles per month. For 2 centuries, cologne simply meant fragrance. The format precedes every other concentration on this list. Today it survives as a summer-oriented, refreshment-focused category. Houses like Creed and Acqua di Parma have modernized the format while retaining the characteristic lightness. Longevity rarely exceeds 2 hours. Eau Fraîche, the lightest contemporary classification, containing less than 3% aromatic material. Eau Fraîche was developed as an alternative to traditional cologne for markets in tropical climates, where heavier concentrations become suffocating at high humidity. The format is almost entirely water and alcohol, closer to a scented rinse than a true fragrance. Versace's Eau Fraîche, launched in 2006, introduced the category to a mainstream luxury audience and remains one of its best-selling examples. The formula was intentionally designed for the Middle East and Mediterranean summer markets. Longevity typically falls under 90 minutes. Pure perfume oil, the commercial evolution of a tar philosophy applied to Western niche perfumery. Pure perfume oil eliminates ethanol entirely, using a carrier oil, typically fractionated coconut, jojoba, or dipropylene glycol, to suspend aromatic compounds at concentrations between 25 and 35%. The format was introduced to the Western luxury market largely through Middle Eastern brands entering European retail in the 2000s. Swiss Arabian and Ajmal brought commercial oil perfumery to Harrods and Galeries Lafayette. This makes pure perfume oils polarizing. Parfum de Toilette, a largely abandoned concentration that briefly occupied the space between EDP and Parfum in the 1980s and early 1990s. Parfum de Toilette, abbreviated PDT, contained between 18 and 22% aromatic material and was positioned as a democratized extrait. Calvin Klein launched Obsession PDT in 1985 alongside its EDP counterpart. The format never achieved lasting commercial traction. Consumers found the pricing close enough to EDP to question the distinction. By the mid-1990s, most houses quietly discontinued the category. Today, PDT appears almost exclusively in vintage fragrance auctions, where bottles from this era command prices significantly above original retail. Cologne Intense, a modern hybrid concentration invented by luxury houses to bridge the gap between EDT and EDP without reordering their product architecture. Cologne Intense typically contains between 10 and 18% aromatic material, higher than a standard EDT, but structured around lighter, more volatile molecule arrangements. Hermès launched its Hermèscence Cologne Intense collection in 2004 under perfumer Jean-Claude Ellena, using the format to deliver minimalist transparency with surprising depth. The format became particularly favored in the niche market, where brands sought commercial accessibility without the density of a full EDP. Molecule 01 by Eccentric Molecules, launched in 2006, operates within this concentration range and became one of the best-selling niche fragrances in European retail history.